also always do at the summit is report back from what happened. What were the insights? What were lessons learned? What was the new direction? And I am very lucky and happy that usually Greg Schleusner always does that. He has been leading the IFC developments quite a bit. But Greg, just due to travel restrictions, and he had some family issues as well, can't be here this time. So I was asked to report back, and then Yusheng said, I am the room coordinator. Please send me your slides ASAP. And this was my reply. I don't have slides. I want to do it the same as in Marrakesh, where we open the GitHub repository, walk through the examples, and take some questions and dynamics from the room. So again, this is going to be a technical session. Like, look at JSON code, walk through it, try to dissect it. The big difference between Marrakesh and now is that we made a course. The IFC 5 course, we have that as well, right? This is called the 2024 IFC 5 course. And it is, it's been available for quite a while already. This was also in preparation for the Budapest Hackathon, where we said you're only allowed to join the Budapest Hackathon when you did this course, because we want everyone to be at the same page and at the same knowledge level when they step into the room, not to lose any time. There are 1,200 people that did the course. So if you didn't do it yet, you will please do. It seems to be very helpful. So the examples in the course are from November. Things changed since November, and even from today on, the examples I'm going to show you today will also evolve and will also change. Are you recording me as a backup? Nice. So the course is kind of outdated already, but what is not outdated are the principles that are being educated there. So we'll go over the examples later. You'll see that we have a lot of individual objects. It's a JSON format. There's some USD principles. There's some ECS principles. It's really a collection of different inspirations, and all of these things together are very close to what we think IFC 5 will be relatively shortly. Just to see who we have in the room. If I show you a JSON file, would you be scared and run away? Or how many people in the room are comfortable looking at JSON files? Okay, about half. Let's see how full the room is at the end of this session. I am not insulted if you say this is too technical for me. I'll leave and I'll come back later. I'll do the course online, so no problem. Yeah, let's do this the same as we did in Marrakesh as well. Are there any kind of burning questions up front? Why are you here? Do you want to know how wonderful it is and what you can do? Do you want to understand the technical aspects of it? Do you want to get the facts about some of the rumors that are going around? So just, yeah, if there's one thing you would really like from this session, what would it be? So anyone who...
I would like to see what are the main problems of the industry that IFC 5 will solve.
All right, so that is the sales pitch on what it can do. Yeah, that's not this session, I'm sorry. yeah, different time. Anyone else? Yeah, I just want to give clarity here on what you're going to see. It's gonna be nerdy.
I want to see if I can recognize in the JSON scripts, or how do you call it, but if I recognize what we were used to in the IFC 4x3, so how do I see that?
All right, yeah, we can do that.
I would like to see where some structures which are not classified in the IFC, how I can bring the new objects and connect them to the existing objects. Say, for example, like something called balcony, which may not be there, or something like different kind of rooms categories. Can I really identify a space into a, say, veranda or something like that, and can keep it consistent? Can I transfer that information to revisit that? I mean, like, say, suppose I define something as first time, but can I consistently make use of that definition for the subsequent models which are created?
All right. So I think a couple of parts in that question are not specific to IFC5. So how do you do balcony in IFC is also an IFC4 and 403 issue. I think there was actually the balcony example literal in the sessions yesterday. Not sure which session anymore, but that's related as well. So for the people who just came in, again, warning, big disclaimer here. This is going to be a nerdy tech session, so I'm not insulted if you decide it's too much for you. Any burning questions? All right. Well, let's dive into it then. So for those who can't read, this works. Yeah. And again, also for clarity, I'm just here to take the credits for work that has been done, mainly led by Greg Schleusner, but by a strong task force that also had people in there from our software representatives, and people like Thomas Kreinen, for example, who is probably famous in this community as well. So the links that might be interesting to you is ifc5.technical.buildingsmart.org. When you enroll in the course, you will get a lot of information there as well. If you do ifc5.technical.buildingsmart.org/viewer, you will get an IFC5 viewer where you can upload a file to see what the results are. So let's update one of the examples. So if I upload an hello wall example, click view, I get a wall with 2 windows. This viewer is 200 lines of code. It's MIT licensed. It's available on our GitHub as well. That brings us to GitHub. So if you go to the buildingSMART GitHub page, you look for the IFC5 development repository, you will find everything there is to know. So this is where the current schema is. This is where there's 2 examples at the moment, a hello wall that we just showed, and a linear placement. So this is an infra example that has alignment in there as well. Under the docs, you will find the source code of the viewer. Like I said, 200 lines of code. Who has looked at these examples already? That's less than half. Okay, so let's dive into them. I've just shown you the IFC5 hello wall example. So this is a wall with 2 windows and a space, as you see. There's also space boundaries in there. And on the left, you also see this structure of my project, my site, my building, my story, my space. And then the space has a boundary wall, boundary window. And down here, you have a wall with 2 windows, window 1 and window. If I click on window 1, you see that it has this full path in there as well. It recognizes it. There is a reference to original step data. This is not going to be an IFC5, and this is a bit related to the question we had earlier. When you go to the IFC5 examples under the hello wall, you see that there's multiple files. There is the hello wall.ifc. This is an IFC4 version of the same wall. So if you open this in Solibri or BIM Collab Zoom or Simple BIM, I need to mention multiple tools, right? So any tool you want, you would see the same 1 wall, 2 windows, space boundaries, and space. So that's where you can make the comparison. So if you want to find this window that I just clicked on in the original IFC4 file, you can find it on line 1407. So this is just additional documentation in the example to make sure that you can really match 4 to 403. So there is a classification here. It says that this is an IFC window. So I think this is already one of the first big differences between the IFC4. I'm mentioning 4, but I mean 2x3, 4, 4-3, the whole previous family. So the difference between IFC4 and IFC5 is that I clicked on this, and this is an object, and information about this object says that it is an IFC window class. In IFC4, you clicked on something, and it was an IFC window. It's an IFC window, you added properties to it. In IFC5, it's an object, and information attached to that object says that it's an IFC window. If you want to know more about what IFC window means, here's a URI to the BZD, or to anything else, doesn't have to be BZD, where you can read the definition of what window means. There's a property, is external, it's set to 1. This is a nerd term for true. And it also has a reference to a window material. If there are questions, just shout. Yeah, go ahead. Shout hard, otherwise you can't hear you.
This is a physical object. You call it an object?
No, object is can be anything. So the space is also an object. The space boundary is an object.
For the online, is it an object? And is there a difference between space objects and physical objects? And your answer was already...
No, yeah, there's no difference. So I just clicked my space here. You see, this is an IFC space. Yeah, it's not a physical object, but in IFC5, objects are objects. Yeah.
Is it a different file, a separate file?
In this case, good question. I'll come back to that later. Don't rush me. In this case, it is one file. But let's park this. Yeah, this is my next topic. I guess this is the next topic. If there's no more questions. So let's dive into this. I will select the wall first. Let me find that. So if I click on the wall, you see IFC wall identifier also is external, is 1, and a material. And there's another code here as well, and that's why I'll dive into the example now. So if you go to the actual hello wall example, so 1 file. But if you look at this, and unfortunately I'm not on my own laptop here, so I'm not getting these nice colors to show you what one object is. But if you look here, this open bracket until the close bracket and the comma, this is an object. It has a definition, def. This is going to change. As I said earlier, this is going to be spec def, and it has a type. This is also optional, it's not mandatory. It has a name, it says my project. Do I need to zoom in, by the way, or is this viewable? There's still seats at the front for people who can't read. So this is one object, and this object inherits something from another object that has an identifier. So this individual thing could be in one file. This is a list of objects. They're just comma separated, just like any other comma separated file. You could have every individual object in this file could be an individual file. You can put 10 together. If you want to have 10 together, you can put hundreds together. So for the simplicity of this example, there is a lot together, but I'll come back to that later. Did you do the course already?
No, that was a question.
This is the first assignment in the course. Thank you for having me pitch this again.
I was asking my wife to do it, so she probably will know.
So it's a really good question. It's almost as if it's rehearsed, Evandro. But yes, if you do the course, the first assignment is you exactly what I do now. You load this into a viewer, and then we explain that it's individual objects, and then we ask you to cut it in 3 files. Even Jan has been able to do that. I see my boss is walking in here and getting nervous now. So it's just indeed a list of individual objects. The first assignment in the course is split it into 3 files, really to give you the idea that it is not 1 file, it's not 3 files, it's the collection of a lot of objects. And that's also, let's look at IFC wall. So you should be able to find this reference here. So again, I have one object here between these two brackets and a comma, and it says the code IFC wall and the URI reference to the BSD. This is still referring to a 4.3 IFC wall because we haven't published IFC5 classes in BSDD yet, but this is obviously going to be IFC5 class, or actually it's pretty version independent, because if I want to use an IFC2x3 class or an IFC4 class inside this IFC5 file, I can do it. I can just say IFC wall, and I actually mean the 4.3 wall instead of the IFC5 wall. That's an option. So that's also a little bit linking to the question about how can I use multiple different standards here. So this code IFC wall is added to this object. And this object with this name, with this identifier, is actually the wall. This object is defined as an over because I'm overlaying extra information on this object, and the extra information that I'm overlaying is the fact that this is an IFC wall. So this is again this principle of there's an object, and then I just start adding information to it. I put it in a tree in a position somewhere. I add geometry to it. I add a class to it. I add a property to it. As you see, the property is somewhere else. And in this case, I even add this reference to the original IFC4 step example. And if I say, all right, here's the property, the external is 1. I add a material to it. So see, this is still, this is also an overlay on the same object with the same code. Then I say I'm going to add a material which references to this raw material. And then there's this nice one, because we already saw this in the viewer. As you see here, there's an IFC5 class code IFC wall, but there's also an LSFB class code 2121. So what is this? Is this an IFC wall or is this a 2121? Both. Yes. Good answer. I saw in the previous session there were cookies for good answers. I'm sorry I don't have one. Yeah, stroopwafels you expected, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. It's both, indeed. So it's one object, and you add additional information to that object to tell the system that this is, according to you, this is an IFC wall. But according to you, this is also a 2121. And this is very different from the previous IFC, where you had IFC. Are you checking time? You need to cut me off, because you need to give Michelangelo enough time. Yeah. Thank you. So in the previous IFC, it was an IFC wall, and then you added a classification reference and maybe multiple classification references, but they were like hidden somewhere in this spaghetti schema with relationships that are objectified. In this case, you've got an object. It exists because you created an identifier, and then you're just starting to overlay information on top of that identifier. So I've overlaid a material. I've overlaid everything I want. Point clouds I can add to this, georeferencing, whatever. And indeed, also a 2121. So this is a very different approach to the classes that we had in IFC4 and classification references. So all of these classification references and basically everything that's currently in BSDD is coming at the same level as IFC and IFC5. I see nods. That's good. Is this raising more questions than answers, or should I move on? Is it in the previous meeting? This was the part where people started leaving the room. So again, I'm not insulted. Don't worry. If there's any questions, just interrupt me. Yeah, and as you
one question: the property sets are gone. Or?
Yes,
okay.
At the moment. So still a little bit up for debate, but I'll explain why later. But we want no. So in this viewer, you don't see the original author of this data, but the principle should be, as I showed yesterday as well in the presentation, that anyone can add properties. So if I now have my file where I say I also have an opinion on this. I also have a def over on this identifier, and then I provide my property. Then I should not have to also link to a certain property set. The linking to the name should be enough, because that's the identifier. There is no actual object that exists like this. There's only objects that refer to this identifier. So if I want to contribute my properties to this identifier, having to look up under which property set that is needed is hindering the use case. So yes, you should see IFC5 data not as one structure with like an entry point, and then you follow all the links, and then you get the complete picture. It is a collection of all of these kind of individual objects. You need to process all of them, and then you need to compose the whole thing. So the word composition is also something you would learn in the course. And also what you see here is a composition of all of these individual objects and these individual overlays and these individual references that is then composed into this one view. So I'm also not sure if I have all of the information of this wall. There could be information floating out there in other files or somewhere on a CDE. So I can only compose the information that I have, but it's so flexible that, yeah, this use case where anyone can add properties should be just with one API call, just immediately injecting it to the composition where you say, this is where I add my opinion to.
I have a question regarding this property. Let's say, first of all, does it have to be unique? Is there any limitation in that sense, or by using GUIDs you avoid this? And a second, do you have a concept of property definition?
Yeah, this is not specific to IFC5. So every property in IFC has a definition. It's published in the documentation. So also in this case, the property is external. In IFC 4.3, this is a unique property. There's only one is external. It's used multiple times with multiple property sets and multiple objects, but there's only one property called is external. There's only one definition of is external. So that's not different in IFC 5. Move on. Oh, one more question.
Maybe we come to that point, but material layer sets.
Oh, yeah, gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
And so the way how to add layers and different products in a wall.
The wall is not layered anymore. If you have multiple layers in a wall, they're individual objects.
But they create the wall at the end.
Yeah.
And they have have the code IFC wall. Every layer has that.
You can do whatever you want. So if it is a wall, if you, according to your software or your view, think that the inner wall is an IFC wall and the outer wall is something else, is a covering or also a wall, you can add to it what you want.
So from this presentation, I also understand that everyone is free to choose their own decompositions. Eh? So it's
well, that's not exactly the case. So not everyone is free to choose their decompositions, but the IFC5 structure, so the file format as we have it now, and also the core of the schema, does not restrict it. So you still have to work towards these use case standards where you say, for a building, it always has to be this structure because that's the industry standard. But the core schema, also this is not very different from IFC4. IFC4 also doesn't say that you have to follow a certain schema. That's what the MVD does. So the setup is very similar here, where the core doesn't restrict you from doing that. But in practice, the industry standard would strongly advise you to do it that way.
About the wall, if we have different layer, if we want to apply a property to the group of the wall, is there a function?
Good question. Yeah. So what you see here is that I already have So yeah, it's gonna get complicated now, because my wall here is already a composition of multiple things. So under my wall, I actually have my window and window one, you see? So, so because this is a tree structure, when I now select the wall and I would drag it around, the windows would come with it, because the windows are sub branches of the wall. So if you say I have my top level wall, let's call it that way, and it consists of multiple sub objects that make up the wall, with the windows, without the windows, completely up to you. So you're basically building your own assembly. And then if you click this, so this wall with two windows is now an assembly. If I drag that around, the two windows come along. So if you build a wall with multiple objects, like the inner wall, the outer wall, the isolation, whatever you want to put into that, if you all link that into the tree structure, then the top object is automatically your aggregation. So that's also a big difference. With IFC4, you had these type objects, like you had one window you want to reuse 200 times. The aggregations, all of these were separate concepts inside IFC4. Within IFC5, it's one concept that works much more generically.
Okay. So the concept is the element contain what is below is the lower structure, lower level.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it just to add to that, so the window, for example, here, it's not that this wall has two windows under it. This wall has two identifiers under it that both have a name, window and window one, and both refer to the same definition that has the geometry. That's answering your question already, right? Yeah, I thought so. I wanted to show this, but I don't know if I remember my login details here.
So if you have 1,000 windows, it's only one times written in geometry, and then it will.
Yeah, that's an option. If you wanna do 1,000 windows with all individual geometry definitions, that's also possible. It's your choice. Yeah. That's also what you see here. I will. Let's park this until after the presentation from Michelangelo, because again, I'm not on my own laptop here. Let me find my login credentials, because in the course there is a link to a Miro board, and inside the Miro board, this whole file is being dissected. So you see here, there's references. There is inherit things. So you're going to log into the course now, aren't you? I see it. Yeah. So if you look at the Miro board, you also see the tree structure. So you see a wall and two windows under it, and then you really see the arrows also from the windows to one, actually the body object that defines the geometry of the window. So yeah, the Miro board completely dissects this whole file into how it really all connects. You want to show it to the audience? Yeah, I can also show it on my own laptop, but then we're losing the online participants. That doesn't work. You're already enrolled. You'll get an error. I'll leave you to it. We parked a question before, right? Was that yours? What was that? Yes. Let me show you. So I have an IFC5 Hello Wall here now. So we dissected it. Again, this is a composition. The first assignment is to split this into 3 files to really get you to understand that it's not one file, it's not 3 files, it's a composition of all of the objects that are in the file. I can even link to a URL in this viewer as well, where I just add more data into the composition. I also can add my Hello Wall add fire rating. So if I add this to the composition, when I then go to the wall, it has an IFC5 property fire rating, R60. It didn't have that before. So when I'll show you what I just added. So there's this Hello Wall add fire rating. It's 2 objects. That's it. So again, it's this overlay on the wall object that says I have an IFC5 property, fire rating R60. And on another object, I think this is the window maybe, I have an R30. So imagine you're a fire engineer, you need to add your fire rating properties to something. You don't have to download the IFC file, import it with all of its inefficiencies, then add your fire rating, export it, and then everything duplicates and all of that mess that is currently in IFC4. So if you want to understand one of the fundamental industry issues why IFC5 is different and benefits from compared to 4, this is one of the major ones. All of this import, export, those really annoying and unreliable use cases are just not happening anymore in the new flow. You only export these 2 properties and you say, I'm going to add this to the composition. And it could be my own properties, just as an update of my own, but it can also be the fire engineer adding his properties as an opinion to the whole composition. And then you would still see that they come from a different source. We can even go further. I can also say, let's add a silly fire rating. So another file to the composition. And then I have a fire rating I don't know, because that one comes from the silly fire rating. So why is it now showing the I don't know and not the previous one, the R60? Yeah, exactly. Just for the people listening, this is about this overwriting. We don't want overwriting in IFC. It's not that if I'm the last one, that my opinion goes above the other one. And this is also one of these, we haven't talked about USD yet, but this overlay concept is, we basically stole that from USD. So you have an object and then you can overlay something. It's very powerful. It's really, really good. It also allows in the movie industry where texture designers can just work on their textures, overlay it on an object, and the geometry of the object is being made by someone else. It's brilliant. It's absolutely wonderful. And we basically stole that. But the difference is with IFC, because you don't want that. You don't want to resolve into one final result that someone said is the truth. So what we expect from the actual viewers to implement is that there would be a warning here that says there is a conflict. There are multiple opinions here. Actually, that viewer functionality has been created as well in the implementer assembly in Budapest, and we showcased it there. It hasn't been implemented in the final code yet, but I expect that soon. But this is also the reason why we have these layers. So this is called a layer browser. It's not just a list of files. So when I change the order of the layers here, I probably have to refresh, then all of a sudden there's the R60 again. So the order of the layers on the left is also the order in which the data is being read and showed on screen. So this is also very different from USD. So if I still want to have my final view as an architect, my opinion rules in my world, or construction engineer or whatever, I don't want to insult architects, any engineer, I want to have my view, then I view the data in the order that I prefer, with my contributions at the top. But if you get everything together in Celebri or SimpleBIM, BIM Collab Zoom, again, I need to mention multiple, then I want to have a big warning sign here that says there are multiple different opinions about this property. Figure it out together and make sure that you coordinate. So the big difference between creating a movie with USD is that there's only one pixel in the end on the screen, and a construction industry where you absolutely need to coordinate and make sure you're together. Yeah, I saw him. Does he have a microphone? Bjorn.
So it's more a comment than a question, but there's no difference between, I mean, you're adding something over something. It could be anything, meaning that you can also have different geometry representations, yes, because there's no difference between any property or geometry, and it could be, different details levels or different whatever.
Yeah.
Which is also a powerful thing. And then you don't want a warning. That's maybe because you intend to use a simpler version of the geometry or one without textures if you're referencing geometry from different standard USD, for example.
Yes. Yeah. So the warning is a software functionality. So yeah, it's really up to the industry how to implement this to serve the needs of the user. But the nice thing is indeed that IFC5 does not force one end result like in the movie industry. But these multiple representations are indeed also, again, sneaking in some use cases of the future that are not possible with IFC4. These use cases where you have a window that is a window as designed by the architect as to be built. So basically the detailed geometry that the manufacturer gives you for coordination, and even as installed, where you don't add a geometry but a point cloud that you've scanned on site on how it is installed. And all these three representations can be in the same composition. So I can really switch between give me the original design representation of the architect, give me the manufacturer's engineered window, and give me the point cloud of the window as it is installed. So it's not just multiple opinions, there's also multiple representations, multiple phases. It's a really, really powerful dynamic.
I might have missed this, but is there a generic relating type so you don't have to write the fire rating property 1,000 times? Like
So yes, I said earlier, but I knew this wouldn't be picked up, so you didn't miss it. But it's very difficult for me to explain. This is also a weakness of the course, by the way. So you used to have like window instances and then one window type, and if you did geometry and properties on the type, it would just be reused. That concept is even more powerful in IFC5 because you can basically make anything, whatever you want, into a type. But it's still an object. It's not really a different kind of object, and we call it a type now. So I can take this whole composition, so including the space and the space boundaries, and I can now say, this is my type. I'm now going to reuse that 500 times. It's also actually one of the assignments in the course, where you say, take this whole wall, use that now as something that we know as a type in IFC4, and then make another building story and then reuse the building story. I can add a third window to this. And if I add a third window and then reuse the whole composition of the wall into a second story, also the extra window is then in the second story. So the dynamic is very, very powerful because you're not making these distinctions anymore between type and object. An object can be used as a type can be used as an object. It's very difficult to explain if you create a course, and it's probably very difficult to understand if you watch the videos. But as soon as you start copy pasting with stuff, it's kind of going to make sense.
Go.
What is recommended workflow about coordinate systems? So is it recommended to put it on top layer, coordinate system?
No, there is no top layer.
No, but okay, so what's happened if I just copy this in another project with let's say, which contains some different coordinate system?
Yeah, then you're I mean, there's only one coordinate system, right? It's like the old-fashioned AutoCAD. You have X, Y, Z, and it goes from 0 to unlimited. And that's it. It's an XYZ coordinate system, Cartesian points. That's it. So there is some kind of an origin somewhere, and all of the points you have result to that origin.
So it's still not clear to me. So do you use final ultimate coordinates like you mentioned now, or you have still option to use different reference systems and then coordinates related to these reference systems?
Yeah, so you're talking more like geo-reference systems.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's if I now add an object, an overlay, where I say this point in this whole composition is a point in a georeference system, then you add that, and someone else can add that as well. I am happy to show you in a minute. Yeah, there can be multiple opinions on reference systems as well. Yeah, there can be multiple opinions on anything. So also on reference systems.
I hope it's not going to be the chaos we had before.
No, it's going to be worse. No. It's going to be at least a lot more transparent.
Okay.
What are you? Oh,
you remember.
yeah, remember. Yeah, this took you 2 minutes, right? Yeah.
5 minutes. Done with personal job. So,
Thank you. Let me do the georeferencing question first, because it's a bit of a cheeky question, let's be honest. But look at the pull requests. There are more examples coming up. There's a borehole example. There's a tunnel example coming, and I think part of the borehole example. Yeah, see, there's 32 discussion topics on this, so there's definitely georeferencing in here. This is where georeferencing is discussed. I don't know exactly where, but the nice thing I see here is one of the examples. So anyone can add a georeferencing, and of course you need to coordinate on that. Just like anyone can add a property, you need to coordinate on it. But it doesn't have to be at the top level. It can be anywhere, and I can add a georeferencing to an alignment, and I can add a georeferencing to my wall. Need to make sure that it's coordinated. So it also doesn't have to be there in the beginning. I can also add it later. I can ask someone else to add it. So these things are being discussed now, and yes, because it is such a big discussion, is because we want to facilitate also more use cases than an IFC4. In Forder 3, you can only use one reference system, and then you're stuck with that for the rest of the project, basically. We want to facilitate the fact that you can have more reference systems. And it gets worse in that sense, even, because I can take your whole project with your alignment and your reference system point, and then I can say, this is now a type for me. And this type, I'm now going to use it somewhere completely somewhere else. And I'm going to change the origin point, because that is the principle of IFC5, where you can be taking anything from someone else and use that as a product, basically, that you're just dragging around in the world. So that's obviously discouraged. That's not a best practice. Yeah, just caveat here. Oh, absolutely. I saw your face. But just to explain the principle to this tech-savvy nerd meeting, to explain that there's really fundamental differences in types and occurrences and in this composition.
It's a little related to coordinates, but if you have like one long wall and only the half of the wall is has to be fire rated, can you do like 50% of the wall?
No, split it in two. Then it's two walls.
It's two walls.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. If a part of your wall is different, then it's a different wall. Split it.
Okay. Yeah.
You'll never have a long wall anyway, because you have dilatations. How's that in English?
I have a question. Is it intended to implement something like functionality in it? So I can parameterize something, or is that not?
Yeah, not in the core. So yeah, that's also one of the things that I haven't explained yet. So what I'm showing you now is really the core functionalities of IFC5. So when you look at the current IFC4, you probably saw that picture with the different layers, with the triangles and the blocks and the circles. So what we're talking now is this core, the triangle of the old IFC4. What are actually objects? What are relationships? How are they going to connect? These kind of principles. And then on top of that, you'll get a separate module. So we'll have an architectural module, just like we have now in IFC, that actually defines what an IFC wall is. So the definition of IFC wall will not be in the first version in the kernel of IFC5. That will be in like an extension module. Will also be a separate part of the IFC standard. So the core will be IFC part, the ISO standard part, whatever. And then all of these objects will be in different domains. I'm intentionally calling them domains because there's a strong relationship with the buildingSMART domains, obviously. And and those can have their own update release cycle and can have their own definitions. But there can also be multiple other modules. So a more advanced geometry module, like parametric geometry, is also one of the modules that we are positioning. It's not on top of the priority list because the kernel needs to be, but this is definitely one of the things that is on the list. Shall I do the Miro board? How much time?
10 minutes.
10 minutes? All right, so I said earlier, if you follow the course, you'll get to see the Miro board. Just quickly overview. This is where you see this my project, that the project inherits something from another object. The object doesn't really have too much, but it has an overlay that says that it's actually an IFC project and a reference to the example. Then that object has a child that's called site that inherits again. It seems a bit complicated, but it makes sense. Then the building, the story, and then you here have the wall. The wall has a lot of different objects, as you see. It has a mesh, it has curves, it has a position, and here are the two windows. So the two windows are placed within the tree, and then they have their individual information about the position. So the instance, the XYZ of that individual window, and both of them, both of these windows refer to one object that then says, "Hey, this is a window. It has a certain material. It has a property, and it has geometry." So this is coming back to one of the previous topics where you don't have to have 1,000 windows with 1,000 times the same geometry, but you can. But the nice thing is that if I now want to add a third window here, how would you do that? Just add? Yeah, I can just create a new object here or here, and then I say window 2, but then it's not in the tree. It's just floating around somewhere. It's a window 2 and it has geometry, but it would be at the origin. It would be at the 0, 0, 0. So I need to place it into the tree. So I need to, in this list that has window 1 and window 2 as well, I need to add it. That means I need to edit this object to have an additional child. So traditionally, this sucks because I need to import it, I need to change the object, add an additional child, export it again. Then I lost something in import or export. I need to migrate it, I need to merge it. It doesn't work. What I do now is I don't even have to import this wall. The only thing I do is I do an overlay on this wall where I add one child. So in my opinion, this wall has one extra child. I don't even have to import the wall to add a third window. I can just add an additional opinion on top of the wall that says it needs to have a third child. It is so powerful.
That is actually one of the industry problems that is solved then.
This was already the third.
So you lied.
Yeah, I think it's actually 4 or 5 of those. I said I'm not going to do the sales pitch to you.
I have a question related to this entire hierarchy. If suppose you have rooms divided, can you divide the component of wall, which is a portion representing a part of a room, and the second room or something like that?
Yeah, then it's 2 separate walls.
2 walls?
If I understand your example correctly.
So I have a wall like this going, and a portion of a wall is a part of this room, and another portion of the wall is part of the second room. How do I distinguish that in the structure?
Yeah, that's a space boundary. That's also the same as an IFC4. It's also in the example, actually. So where is my example? So if you look in the tree here, I mean, space boundaries are obviously visible, but I have my space. It has a space boundary to the wall and to the windows. It's the same as an IFC4. The difference is that they're now objects instead of relationships. In IFC4, they were relationships. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now they're objects. but the principle is exactly the same. How much time do I have left? 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, normally I would say you've asked enough questions, but they were really good. So,
but
okay.
the next question, I'm adding a different layer to make, for example, systems or building systems to relate objects. Do you just mention them as a child from one object, or do you have to write them down?
No, that's one of the topics that is still on the list to figure out. There are some ideas already, and if you dive into the Miro board, you already see some hints, specifically on the space boundaries. The way they are referenced is already almost, you can recognize a system in there. But this is still being figured out at the moment. Yeah, any input is welcome.
Question about the property. When we declare a property and we assign it to an object, I suppose that we could, instead of writing down the name of the property, refer to a property that is existing in BSDD?
Yeah. So existing anywhere. That's also an important topic. We do not want to make IFC5 dependent on BSDD. Any dependency is wrong, also to our own tools. So let me give you the example again. So IFC wall, right? So IFC wall here, you see it's an IFC5 class. It has a code IFC wall, and then you have a URI, an identifier to something else. And also in the 21 example, it refers to something that is published in the BSD. We're going to do the same with properties.
Okay, so it means that also we can solve the problem of translation, because the software could display in another language the same property, if we are referring to a specific property in English, but the software user is in French, could be displaying the French translation into the interface.
Yeah, that's not an IFC specific.
It's not it's just a...
Yeah, it's a user functionality. Yeah, it's also not really BSD specific. So all of the translations from IFC properties and classes are published in our translation system. That's copied into the BSD, obviously. But any software vendor now can say, I'm going to get the translations from buildingSMART and display them. It's already possible with all of the IFC versions and also with this one, yeah.
Just the last one. Do you think that modeling tool could work directly, natively on IFC5? Or is not?
No, I don't think so. Okay. I mean, it could, but I think software tools provide functionalities to the end user to execute certain tasks. And the IFC model is not meant to create data. It's meant to exchange data and to compose from different actors and to the incremental update. So I think the software vendors, their internal native model fits their functionalities that they serve to the users better than any kind of common denominator, what IFC basically is, could ever do. So it could, but I wouldn't buy that software. Because, it probably does not provide the additional functionalities for which you buy the software.
From the OpenCDE APIs, do you need to do an extra?
Enough questions for you. No. So OpenCDE is like a portfolio. It's like a working title for multiple API projects. So we used to have, we still have Foundation API and Documents API. There was a plan to do Properties API and IFC API. Now that we know how IFC5 is going to look, I mean, let's be honest. If you look a little bit through the hairs of your eyes, you're going to see how the API of this thing is going to look. It's very lean. It's very wrong one. It's an object, and an object has attributes. It's probably also going to change, by the way. An object has information, so the API will be very simple. Yes. So, but we can. Yeah. So the API is only an interface to the data. We need to figure out the data structure first, and then you can define the interface how to get to the data. But what we see now with how the data structure is going to look like, the API is going to be really, really simple. I'm resistant to use that word, but it's going to be consistent and predictable. So there's no need to have a separate IFC or properties or something else API. There will be one API for getting IFC, doing incremental updates, adding different compositions. All of that is going to be having one very simple API with only very little amount of API calls. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. 2 minutes? Okay. Then what's the page of the implementer assembly? Do we the new page of the implementer assembly? Do you know the link? We've changed the name. Never do that before a summit.
Just go through the homepage.
It used to be the homepage.
Just go through the homepage of the buildingSMART website. It's easy to find.
Never do that. Do you want to introduce yourself, by the way?
Let's not do that again. Under events, last one.
Wow, this is a lot simpler than I thought.
See?
So, because the title of this event is reporting back from the implementer assembly, I wanna point you to this. So, all of the presentations and also the recordings will come online as well. But all of the presentations that we did 6 weeks ago in the implementer assembly are here. And there's a couple of really cool ones. So IFC5 workflows from Tiaga. The reason why the properties don't have a URI in this example is because we only discussed it in Budapest, how to do that. A couple of those presentations are there as well. Here on the property group, there's a really nice presentation from Thomas Kreinen. Oh, this is mine. This is not so nice. Thomas Kreinen, where he also shows that all of these weird LinkedIn rumors about USD and IFC are really weird, because it's basically an influence of 4 different things: the current IFC, the entity component system, which was the start of this IFC5 journey. Then we have USD, but also JSON, which is all very different. And IFC5 is really a mix-up of all of those, not just USD. And this USD versus IFC is really weird. But you will learn all of that in the course, because there's a long statement also from buildingSMART about the USD relationship. So highly recommend that. Do we need to put the QR code back up again on that one?
Already put in the chat in the
And then to make a bridge to the next speaker. So one of the presentations also at the implementer assembly was Akka, who basically already implemented IFC5 as it is today. They know it's going to change 100 million times still before it's final. But I think it really shows also how easy it is to implement this new IFC5 and how predictable it's going to be. So I think that's the next on the agenda, right? Michelangelo. Are you using your own laptop or?
It's already there.
Oh, okay, perfect. Sorry.
Okay, so in the meantime, hello everyone. I am Michelangelo Cianciulli from Akka Software, and yes, I would like to tell you about our developments so far about IFC 5, being this standard very in line with our thinking of how we treat IFC files or models, where we consider them to be dynamic rather than static. It's always been something that we were pushing to, so we are very happy with this new standard, even if it's in the first stages. We know, as Leon said, that we have to change the implementation a million times. That's not a problem, because actually it is a good way, the best way that we know on how to learn. Just a couple of words about Akka Software. It's an Italian company which was founded about 30 years ago, so it has a long history, but recently joined the OpenBeam movement with the mission of transforming BIM to OpenBIM. So we are actually multinational members of buildingSMART International, and we try to contribute as much as possible to the initiatives of the various working groups as much as of our capabilities. What I am going to present to you is actually what we learned so far, starting from the course that Leon showed you before, and given our experience on the subject. Everything that I will tell you is based on ASBIM, which is a cloud technology, which is used as a foundation for accessing the model directly online and in the cloud. Now, ASBIM comes in different flavors. For example, this is specifically for BSI awards, where when you have to send the model to the jury to be scored, you can use this system as well to provide the link for them to show your model. Then there has been, for example, ASBIM Infra. This is our effort that we have done for the IFC 4.3 working group. It is again a viewer that implemented the IFC 4.3 since its early stages. So again, we had to change it a lot of times, but in this process, we learned a lot. We learned a lot about topics that are not core in our company, like railways, bridges, roads, and so on. And we also hope that we give back to the community in the form of this tool that has been used to experimenting along the way with the IFC 4.3 standard that now has been officially published. So with this in mind, ASBIM IFC 5 is no exception, is our understanding so far of the standard with, of course, our specific capabilities that we add to the tools. So the first thing that we had to address when developing such a tool was that we needed a way to engage the users to actually use it, because if you look at the examples from BSI, there is the wall with the two windows and the space, and another one about the alignment, but then that's it. So the first thing that we have done is that we have created the possibility to convert your old IFC files to the new IFC 5 standard. This is not being done because we think that you should convert to the new IFC 5, but it's in fact, the previous IFC models have been created for some purpose, so they should be kept as they are. But if you want to experiment, just to convert your model that you are familiar with, to download them, to inspect them, then you can do it with this tool. It's not only about buildings, as we have seen so far, but also about infrastructures. Also, the alignment has been somehow considered in the new IFC 5 specification. And here we can see a model converted in IFC 5 and some filtering capabilities with the attributes that Leon was showing in the previous examples. Of course, you can download such converted models in IFC 5 format, and you can use other viewers to show them, or as I said, you can open them to inspect what is written in the file. In this example, we use the BSI viewer, which is the only other one that we are aware of, and we are opening the Revit example model being converted in IFC 5. So you can see that the geometry is there, the materials, the properties, and so on. And of course, this is the same alignment as before regarding the alignment. So basically, there is this definition of the alignment where the semantic part is being kept in the standard, but more on that later on. There have been not only during the hackathon, but also previous efforts to make IFC5 files. This one is a nice example that has been done with the SketchUp exporter, and then you can import in ASBIM IFC5 to visualize it. At the moment, this is a composition of different files that then are shown in a unique scene, and each property has its own attributes, as we have seen. So it's basically the same examples that Leon shown, but on quite more complex examples. Then we had to implement some specific functionalities. For example, for alignments. Alignments have a special treatment. The fact that in IFC5 the business data is kept there, so the radius of the curves, the various segments, and so on, allows us to create some functionalities on top of that. So here we are looking at an example of referent and stationing. This is the alignment example as provided by buildingSMART. And here we are looking at how we can select the various segments with all of the data, the radius of the curves, and so on, that then we can use to create, for example, the plot of the alignment in 2D. This has been a functionality that has been much appreciated, for example, in the previous IFC working group, in the IFC 4.3 working group, because allows, let's say, technical people from railway domains, road domains, and so on, to understand better, not only with 3D visualization. Then there are other functionalities, such as, for example, you can walk through the alignment and things like that. As Leon mentioned, the simple example of the wall and of the space actually has also information about space boundaries, which is in IFC5 have been given more importance. The thing is that you can show this information in the viewer, and the fact that they also have geometry attached, we now know from the example of Leon how this is done. You can already show that information in the viewer as well. So you have the surface of the windows and of the wall with the relationships about the boundaries. This is another example, again from BSI, which is the one that contains the georeferencing part of it. The example is quite simple, but the file is, the model is rich in data. This shows also a limitation of the tool, because, for example, in the file, the line that you see selected have a color specified, and we do not yet support this, so we have to update already the code for the viewer, and also the IPSG code is specified in an object that at the moment is not shown in the tree. So already some work to do to support it correctly. Of course, then we can use this information that is in the file, for example, to place the models with the correct IPSG code on a map with the connection with the GIS systems, and so on. Last but not least, there is a forum functionality that it's basically more like a chat, like a WhatsApp, where you can, if you need the help, drop a message or subscribe to discussions that you may be interested in, and be notified about what is happening, updates of the applications, and so on. Because as I said, we expect to make a lot of changes during time. So to be up to date with the latest evolution of the standard, that will be your main point. And of course, you can link images, videos, and everything that you would expect in a chat like WhatsApp or similar applications. Now on a more probably interesting part, at least from my side, is that I was not aware of USD before the IFC thing, and having learned as much as possible about it, we have started to think about how to combine that with our IFC workflows to get basically the best of both worlds, or actually to understand how to make better workflows of today's possibilities. The first thing that we already have seen from Leon is about non-destructure editing. So basically, you will never delete properties from others, but you can only add opinion on that. This is the very same example that Leon has shown, and you can see that the value of this external property is actually 1. So what you can do is that you can add your own opinion, as Leon said, you can do in another file, just putting an over on the same object, specifying your opinion, which may be different from the others' opinions. So you need to edit the file. If you follow the course, this is one of the exercises that you have to do, and you can leave a comment just in case about the fact that you are adding a stronger opinion, whatever that means. Let's say that you are adding a different opinion on the value of some properties. In this case, the viewer will show you the list of all the values of the properties, with the strongest one being the actual value, and then with another property called with the same name but underscore old, the list of the old previous values. In that case, it was only one previous values, but you will get all of them. Enhancement of this have already been done during the hackathon, where you in the schema, in the FC5 schema, has been added the author of the change. So basically, you will not only show the list of all the possible values, but also who provided such opinion on what property. Now, editing may have some strange consequences, which may seem strange at first, and it's exactly what Leon was saying about entities being types and vice versa. So the window that was inherited when you are duplicating a building story just because you are duplicating the story. This is something that you, at least for us, you want to think about twice, especially during the implementation. You have to understand the technicalities about this. So for example, here we are doing exactly that. We are duplicating a floor in its completely with just few lines of JSON, like adding another floor, giving it a new name, and inheriting from the existing ones. Of course, they may need to have a different position, a different transformation to be placed differently in the 3D space, also as Leon discussed, but that can be done easily manually, but of course in the future with dedicated tools as well. So now when you open the same file with few lines of JSON added, there are now 4 floors instead of 2. This is really powerful, but has also a lot of implication, at least from the reading import part of it. It has some consequences, but I guess also on the editing part. So this will definitely need more consideration, more careful consideration. In fact, we kind of propose about the IFC being dynamic rather than static, and give the possibility to edit it. Now, paradoxically enough, if you use one previous version of IFC, you will get this collaborative editing that I will show you. So these collaborative editing capabilities, but you will not get them so far with the ASBIM IFC 5 implementation. And that's because we want to investigate more about those workflows and those possibilities. So what is shown here is about how in ASBIM IFC5 you can share your project, your model basically, and connect between different peoples looking at the same model and navigating it and collaborating in real time. Again, the editing is not yet enabled, the collaborative editing, because we want to investigate it better, what could be the possible consequences given what we talked about so far. We could simply enable the functionalities that we already have, but we want to take more time about this. So here we have joined the scene with two people. There is a chat that you can talk in real time too, and there are some functionalities like you can select object and select for the other user as well, or make him or her follow your camera and so on. So basically you are looking at not only at the same scene, but also from the same point of view, select the objects and so on. So a lot more on that will be done later in future updates. One thing that I want to mention is about federations and scalability. Federations should be out of questions. We have seen one file and files, not even files, APIs, whatever. So let's consider these somehow solved. Scalability is something that don't want to go into the technicalities, but we let's say that in OSD there are some ways to write the file to explicitly put payloads on the objects to make the scene load faster only for things that you need at the moment. So here the point is that we wonder if buildingSMART should think about doing something similar, like proposing something to have this optimization in the file itself, or if it's something that should be left to the implementers to be done on their own and proprietary optimizations, let's say. The video just shows a not so big IFC5 federation of different models, and the fact that we stress the fact that the application should be performant on being able to load it quickly, but also being able to work on it without issues on performance. We, in this case, were just wondering if BSI should have a word on about how some of such optimizations may be done directly in the IFC5 schema. But looking at how it is evolving, it will probably not be included and be left to the implementers directly. So for these very reasons and many that we have yet to discover, we have always talked that IFC should be at the root of interoperability, and with this new version of the standard, we are convinced even more. So I will leave with the same message that we left at the end of the hackathon, which is, let's make IFC5 the standard the community, the global community deserves, because it's a great opportunity to be able to contribute to the development of such standard and to direct it in your opinions, in the ways that BSI may have not think about. This is the link to the application if anyone wants to use it. As usual, it's free to use for the entire duration of the development stage of the IFC5 and has already all the capabilities that I have shown so far. So thank you for your attention.
So first of all, thank you very much, Michelangelo, and congratulations on everything you did already. So I just have one question. In an example, when you copy floor, what's happened with element GUIDs? So are they going to remain the same? Because then it's going to be a challenge to use BCF. So that's my question.
This is more a question for Leon, but I will answer that the GUID is actually the composition of the path from which the object belongs to. So being renamed the floor to fourth floor instead of third floor, the GUID of the object is now, or was previously third floor, or was after. So the GUID is the composition of where you find it in the scene, in the path.
But so the GUIDs you saw were not called GUIDs, they were called name. That's also not, that's also going to change. It needs to be identified or something. But how you identify objects within the composition is by following the path. So the wall, actually the unique identifier of the wall is my project, my site, my building, my wall, the whole string. And indeed, that is very long to put in a BCF. So that was actually also a topic of discussion in Budapest. And I think it was we split into groups. I think you were in which group?
And I was workflows.
Yeah, you were in a different group. Yeah. So that's a topic of discussion. So thinking about hashing it or doing something else, but
please
it's
do
on the
something
radar.
like that.
Yeah.
Avoid this full name because it's, of course, it's not going to be efficient. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? You're not allowed to ask questions about timeline, by the way. So, but for the rest, anything.
Always having questions, but you have a lot of IFC files already on your system from Akka, from other projects and stuff like that. And is it possible for you easily to transform them to IFC5 when it's finished? That you upgrade all those files to get all those projects in the new functionality?
Yeah, two things. We cannot convert users' files. We cannot access them. So in ASBIM is a cloud system that relies on AWS servers. And from the user perspective, there is a guarantee that we cannot access such data, so we cannot access the others. But we do generate a lot also via scripting with the but the point is that it's useless at the moment and probably also in the future. What I mean is that right now, when you convert it, most of the things that are in your IFC file gets lost because the IFC5 schema is very small, and most of the things you will lose. So as I said, the convert functionality is just to get you started. So if you don't want to look at the same wall, which is where you have to start, follow the course, follow the wall, but you want to convert your own model to because you are familiar with and you open the file and maybe you will find it useful. So that model probably was created for some purpose that at the moment the IFC5 as is cannot fulfill. So upgrading in the future, if it's something that is needed and from users and we see value in this, it's definitely something that can be stay here for.
We have 2 minutes left. One burning question, maybe? Or just a thank you then for actually staying in the room. That's wonderful. Yeah, just as a final comment, Michelangelo is here the rest of the week and very open for questions. I'm here rest of the week as well. So please don't do like all of these weird LinkedIn, I don't understand posts, but just email us, come to me, ask questions. We either have answers or we don't, but we're here actually for these kind of questions. So please don't hesitate. If you give me a coffee, I'll talk for 2 hours. So don't worry about it. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
I hope to see you next time.